Welcome back. President Obama celebrated the 4th of July this morning by speaking at a naturalization ceremony in which 25 active duty service members, veterans, and military spouses became United States citizens.
Every one of us, unless we're Native American, has an ancestor who was born somewhere else. And even though we haven't always looked the same or spoken the same language, as Americans, we've done big things together. We won this country's freedom together. We built our greatest cities together. We defended our way of life together. We've continued to perfect our union together.
And he did reference a broken immigration policy. In the meantime, protesters in Southern California and the city of Murrieta say they will continue to protest the relocation of immigrant detainees to a local Border Patrol post. On Tuesday, protesters blocked 3 buses carrying about 140 immigrants, many of them mothers and children, and forced the buses to turn back. Nonetheless, the federal government is expected to move forward with its plans to bring detainees to the Murrieta facility maybe as early as tomorrow. Joining us now live from Murrieta is NBC News correspondent Miguel Almaguer. Miguel, thank you for being with us. We see the action there. We see law enforcement. Give us a sense of what the scene was like building up to this today.
Well, Francis, I can tell you there's about at least 50 or 60 protesters just behind this police line. They are being kept behind this line to keep the other opposite end of this street open for a possible buses that may arrive here full of undocumented immigrants. I want to show you here. This is the border facility. This is where they would be processed and then later released from. Large facility, about 140 so undocumented immigrants, which could arrive here later today. But the protesters are being kept back. What makes this situation a bit different from Tuesday is, yes, on Tuesday they were actually divided by 2 sides of the street. Those protesters are all mixed together, pro and anti demonstrators behind us. Police say so far it's been relatively peaceful. They have taken 1 person into custody. It doesn't look like it was an official arrest, but for the most part, this protest very lively, though for the most part also very peaceful, Francis.
Peaceful in the sense of a contrast from Tuesday's protests where those protesters were chanting, USA, USA, go back home. Have you spoken to any of the protesters there right now? What are they saying?
The protesters say they are here for the duration of today. They expected, the city said, there was a potential for those buses to arrive here on the 4th of July. That's what brought out all of these protesters. They say they will stay here all day long. They'll try to do exactly what they did on Tuesday, which is confront those buses and turn them around. The scene, though, again, is a little bit different. The police are here. They've actually created a police line. Last time that didn't happen until the buses actually arrived here. So we'll see if those buses do arrive, and we'll see if the protesters honor the police line and stay behind it.
Well, sure, there was that controversy the last time around that the local law enforcement there did little or nothing to stop the protesters. What's the case now? Is local law enforcement, are they saying anything about stepping up? I mean, I see them lined up behind you.
Yeah, police got out here early and they moved protesters back just a few hours ago, and they've created this line. This didn't happen on Tuesday. When the buses rolled up last Tuesday, everyone simply crowded into the street and blocked those buses. But now they've got this whole part of the road shut off. There's another road that comes right into the facility from the back end. That is also open, and police say they have not created any roadblocks down the street. So if buses do come to this facility today, one would expect that they would come down from the other end, but we just don't know what will happen, and we don't know if protesters will stay behind this police line. And we shall see.
We shall see, and if those tensions escalate, we know you'll be watching it, as we will as well. Thank you so much, Miguel Almaguer in Murrieta, California. Thank you. Live now from our Washington, D.C. bureau is Ben Johnson, Executive Director of the American Immigration Council. We thank you for being with us on this 4th of July. Happy 4th to you, Ben.
Happy 4th to you, Francis. Thanks for having me here.
Well, on this 4th of July, everybody is looking at immigration reform, what the federal government can do, and what the president can do as far as, how we deal with these unaccompanied minors and the mother and children crossing this border. What exactly needs to be done?
Well, there are really 2 separate issues in terms of the comprehensive immigration reform. The fact is Congress does need to quit kicking this issue around like a political football and actually get to work fixing the system. But what we're seeing at the border right now really is sort of a separate issue. I mean, there's some can overlap, but it's mostly a separate issue because these folks are fleeing an obvious upturn in violence from the sort of northern triangle of Central America, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. We've seen in Honduras alone a 350% increase police in the murder of women and children over the last 3 years. So these folks are fleeing real violence. And I think, quite frankly, these protesters in Marietta do not speak for the values and the perspectives of most Americans. Most of these folks aren't going to be able to stay here. The overwhelming majority of them are going to have to get turned back and return to their country of origin. Really, the question is, how are we going to treat them while we're looking at the facts of their cases, and are we going to look at the facts of their cases? So I think everybody can agree the thing to do is find out how many of these kids, how many of these mothers and children, and how many kids that are by themselves, how many of them are fleeing real violence and have potentially a right to stay, and how many of them can be returned safely. But let's look at the facts of these cases first.
And we've seen efforts by the U.S. government in tackling it there with ad campaigns saying, keep your kids in this country, don't take the risk. As we've seen, it has become deadly with some of these kids crossing the border. Let's talk about the president and what he said this week, that he will take executive action by the end of the summer on immigration reform, saying he'll pursue non-legislative ways to adjust immigration without having to wait for Congress here. What do you see him doing?
Well, I hope that he'll take some action to alleviate some of the dysfunction of the current immigration system. I mean, the executive branch has a lot of authority in this area. There are some aspects of the law that he can have an influence on how the immigration law is enforced. He could really start to grant some specific parole status to some folks. I don't know whether he'll go that far. I certainly hope that he will consider those kinds of measures. But really, at best, he is going to be able to have little Band-Aid solutions to the problems that we face. This system really isn't going to get better until Congress does its job and starts legislating to reform this system. And if there's a disagreement with the president, I would encourage the House of Representatives to reflect those disagreements in legislation rather than just rhetoric.
Well, we see certainly the passion there, as we did just moments ago. Scenes from the protesters in Marietta, California. Ben Johnson joining us from Washington, D.C. Thank you this afternoon. Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July to you.